Good afternoon. My name is JaLeah Goode. My course and section number is EDUC 221-B01, spring semester, year 2025, and this is my reading strategy presentation. The reading strategy I chose to do was shared reading. Shared reading is classified as when the teacher is reading a selection aloud while students are following silently. Unlike other reading, shared readings are exactly what the title entails. Both sections of readers, students, and educators can visually see the materials being presented, whether technology is being used or not. There may be some standout features, such as an activity that goes along with readings, such as some sort of strategy involving comprehension or recall features, such as text breakdown. This can involve some sort of worksheet. This may be a follow along worksheet that has basically text context that the students can use to basically follow along with that reading as the teacher or educator is going through, just to break down and keep some notes. Outcomes of using shared reading in ELA. Number one, I definitely put improved reading comprehension. Shared reading will allow the students to deep dive and engage with text. It will allow students to be able to obtain a collaborative personality amongst each other. This can be led to a deeper understanding of vocabulary, text context, and real world placement. So we want those students to take this shared reading and basically be able to apply it to some real world activities that they may take far beyond the classroom. Number two, I definitely put increased engagement and motivation. We want those students who work in those teams and who are guided to read together to be more active in the classroom amongst others and tend to be empowered in the classroom and not so shy and withdrawn from the classroom activity. They tend to show more active side when it comes to participating in loud groups or speaking amongst others or in front of a classroom. Increase in vocabulary and development in language skills. Exposing children to various phrases and gain the certain familiarness to the words. It can lead to an expansion in their vocabulary or their exposure to these real life situations. It can give them a chance to or the class to gain insight to those unfamiliar terms so that the educator knows that we need to basically deep dive into this word, break it apart so that others that may have not spoke out can get this familiar term so we can break it apart. So all children are not outspoken. So maybe somebody would be withdrawn who would be withdrawn normally does not know this word. Well, maybe they're not as brave enough to raise their hand and say, hey, I don't know this word. We definitely want somebody to raise their hand. So maybe that other child that is withdrawn, can get that same type of context and be able to learn that word as well. Major components of the strategy shared reading. There are several key components, but I definitely broke it down into my top three. Interactive text. I definitely believe that the text should be age appropriate yet challenging enough for the student to exhibit skills. If the student, just because that student is definitely in kindergarten, some students read well beyond a kindergarten level. So we definitely don't want to keep them on a kindergarten level if they're reading well beyond that. So just because they are in there, let's not limit them. Let's push them to the next level so that it is challenging enough so they do not get bored. Students should be able to model some reading strategies that we have learned within the classroom. Students should be able to make connections, summarize, and know how to approach a text challenges such as unfamiliar words. So we definitely want them to be able to model some of those reading strategies as we're going through stories. Students should be able to actively participate while an educator is reading. Students should be able to actively stay engaged and follow along. We don't want those students dozing off and being bored amongst the classroom. We don't want them to be withdrawn. We want them to be tied in and locked into the story. So we definitely want them to be engaged and be one and become one with this. A demonstration of a strategy using a short story. So the educator should be able to read a short story and be able to ask questions to build some contextual knowledge, such as drawing conclusions. What do you think will happen next? Without reading that. And I definitely think one of those things that a lot of educators do is definitely ask in the beginning, what do they think will happen? And what do you think why do you think a character would do something like that? So that will definitely allow a child to actively participate and listen and predict what some of these actions are going on in these stories. In conclusion, the strategy of using shared reading can be used in various different situations and across the curriculum. So, and it can be used as to expose exposure in the real world. So, choosing different passages through different levels and throughout the years can help with them applying the knowledge at various different skill levels.